You know how to play winning hard-nosed football? You play football like Engineero played football. A guy who gave his life for this football team. He was a 140-pound halfback, and he played like a goddamn wild man. No, like a goddamn rampaging beast. And that's the way you gotta do it. You go out there, you tear their fucking heads off, and you shit down their necks. Let us pray.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 96 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best Football Movie. I don't know what to really say. 3 minutes to the biggest battle of our podcast lives all comes down to today. Either we heal as a team or we're going to crumble. That's football, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you going to do? Ooh-ah. We are pumped this week because we're talking football. Just to clarify, we're talking American football. And that's the sound of all of our European listeners shutting off their listening devices. Soccer movies are great too. She's the Man, criminally underrated. We still got your download. Okay. Anyway, when it comes to the gridiron, there's more than a fair share of epic tales and memorable moments that football has brought to the silver screen. From dramatic underdog stories to hilarious comedies, football movies have been a staple of sports movie consumption. However, there is much more to football movies than what goes on in the field of play. It's the drama, the grit, and the perseverance that captures us. We're not just talking X's and O's here. It takes much more than that to move the storyline forward in these films. We're discussing the comprehensive sensations these movies have provided us throughout the years, the backstories, the defeat, the hurt, because football isn't everything, it's the only thing. This week, Formidable Opponents debates and discusses Best Football Movie. As always, I'm joined by two guys who were once allegedly adopted by a rich white Southern family solely based on their size and podcasting abilities. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
I'm still waiting for my residual checks.
Huck it, chuck it, football.
Believe in the ball and throw yourself.
So guys, the season is upon us. We're talking football season. What about the season that really gets you riled up?
Everything about it. Everything. The beer, the nachos, the barbecue. I mean, we're Texas, dude. Texas and football are quite fond of one another. You think of Texas, it's synonymous with football, high school football, the Dallas Cowboys, the Texas Longhorns, the Houston Texans, football in Texas. I mean, shit, that's what you grow up on. That's what you did on a Friday night. You didn't go to the movies. You didn't go out party. If it's football season, you're going to see the local high school football team. So, it's football is everything down here.
By the way, that is Bob on the microphone, not Demi Moore. We know that his voice is kind of losing a little bit.
Speaking of football, I've been yelling a lot this week. I've been coaching a lot. This first week back, yelling a lot. My voice is done. Or it might be very sexy. We might get a lot of new listeners out there. You bearded men, I love you. Yeah.
Poor kids. Joseph, football, what does it mean to you?
I owe this particular sport, but organized sport in general, my group of friends. It's how I met. I know Bob, since we were kids, but like,
Leave me alone.
but everybody else. I mean, it's my entire group of friends was made through playing organized sports, football in particular, and it's just like Bob said, dude. This is Texas. You're basically you take baby pictures holding a little stuffed football or a Dallas Cowboy onesie or something like so. They already have your Dallas Cowboy onesies before you're born, so
and you already start off 0-1.
Guys, let me ask you this: both of you played in high school. What was your proudest moment? If you could briefly share a quick story about the greatest moment on the field or off the field.
Advancing, I guess, into the playoffs and going and traveling and playing playoff games.
Joseph, you're leaving yourself short. Don't you remember they called a kid got injured a day before our junior year? Kid got injured, and they're like, Joseph, get your ass in there. You're the new starter. And you're like, oh shit, you got to start in one of the biggest games. I remember that one, dude.
When Bob and I were juniors in high school, we were on the varsity team, but I had somebody there was a senior ahead of me, and
Could I ask you one question?
He was starting, and I had to. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you throw your helmet off like Lucas when you got on the field?
I gotta mention Lucas. No tears in this episode.
No, man, I was ready to go. They called my name and was ready to go. It ended up being a hell of a time. We ended up obviously we won and we advanced, and it's not just because it's not me, but I mean it was great. It was great to have that experience. So yeah, you know what, Bob, that might be it.
That's a cool one, man. That was.
What about you, Bob?
Two, I say two. My first playoff game.
Fumble.
Yeah, I caused the fumble at the end of the game, and we won. We played against like the best team in the Valley. They're ranked in the state.
Supposedly.
I hit the running back, and he fumbled the ball, and we got it with like 2 minutes left, and we ended up winning. It's a big moment. Actually, the following week, we're leading at halftime against a team from like Corpus, and I was mentioned in the halftime speech from our head coach. It was kind of fucking cool to be mentioned in a halftime speech. So that was kind of cool. That might be our proudest moment. Our coach has passed on since then, but really great dude. And to be a part of that speech, I thought like that's always like, wow, that was a big moment for me.
Your former coach, who's passed away, has a high school named after him.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
in the city. So that's how big of an impact it has on the community and the students. So it's a big deal. You have a high school named after you. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Texas and football. I mean, football is king in Texas, and like coaches, especially high school coaches, are revered. I mean, they're gods to a lot of people, man. Especially they're winning coaches, and they create great programs. As a matter of fact, it was super funny. Those of y'all that don't live in Texas, Google Texas high school gets new stadium. A new stadium in Texas got like a $4 million stadium and high facility and fucking holy fuck.
You all would not believe some of the facilities that these schools are getting nowadays as far as athletic complex and stadiums. Like they rival
college stadiums, Division II college stadiums. They're nicer than that. And it's high school, dude. It's blows my mind. But that's Texas, dude. That's Texas.
Yep. High school that's named after your coach. They're going to add a statue of him grabbing Joseph's face mask in front of the school. So we're looking forward to that.
A funny story. In high school, that same coach, they got mad because there was a big party on a Saturday, and a lot of people got arrested or got ran out because everybody's drinking. He's like walking by, and he grabs my helmet, and he says, "Were you at the fucking party on Saturday?" "No, sir." "Okay, good boy. And he walks back. Like, oh shit.
Out of nowhere, Bob was just like paying attention, and all of a sudden, coach was
grabs my face mask. "Were you at the fucking party?" Like, "No, sir." Good boy. He taps my helmet and walks on.
So, guys, we look at some of these movie tropes that happen common in these football movies. What are some of your favorite movie tropes? Like when you watch a football movie, what are some of the storylines that have to get hit for you to be invested?
It's a speech, dude. It's a coach. Every good football movie has that coach speech. Yeah, there's a big game. There's usually a big play. Yeah, but the speech, that halftime speech or that pregame speech, that Tony D'Amato, the inches speech he gave in Any Given Sunday, or the Dan Devine, you all seen Friday Night Lights, or read the book, that speech, that great speech. McConaughey and We Are Marshall giving his speech. Jesus Christ, that movie fucks me up. I can't watch it anymore. You feel it to the core in that one. And I love that trope because that's always been something that's stuck with me. I love the pregame or the mid-game speeches or even after-game speeches. I think that makes the movie.
It's both. It's the underdog story and the adversity, I guess. I know they've done movies like this, one version, some of the movies that we're going to mention like are true stories, and they are that true underdog story or that true adversity story. It's one version of another story similar, and I don't care. I love to see it. Aside from that, I mean, the action has to be good for me. And this is coming, from like, me and Bob, like, and no offense to you, Ren, you coached Little League.
I did, yes.
So
it's part of my my probation terms. No, I'm kidding.
it was so you're aware, but you've seen live action. You've at least coached it. Bob and I have been in live action, and when you just see like football movies that just do these scenes that are like way over the top as far as just make it authentic. So that's another thing that I need to see.
I have 3 big tropes that I love in every football movie. When the quarterback throws the ball in the air and it hangs in the air and the camera cuts to all the main characters looking with dramatic music.
Mr. Perfect?
the guy who couldn't make a play to save his life makes a big play during the big game because he can't make a play all season. But at the very end,
don't throw to Lucas, please, God.
The ball is my friend. The ball
And
is
of
my
course,
friend.
lastly, the practice montages when the team is finally putting their shit together. They can't tackle,
Yeah.
they can't run, they're out of shape. But by that last practice, everybody's in total sync. What do these movies usually get wrong, and what irks you the most?
Get actors that can actually play sports or throw a ball. I've seen some of the worst fucking passes or catches. Like, they get the most uncoordinated. They get guys like, no offense, I love this dude, Ryan Gosling, who's like 5'4" to play fucking high school football. Get the fuck Jason Bateman. I mean, I love Jason Bateman too. You can't get these guys that look like they should be sitting behind a desk. Jason fucking Bateman to be, I play college football. Give me a fucking break. That's the one thing that irks me about, I guess you could say, like, you get these fucking guys. There's no fuck Sinbad. Give me a fucking break. Come on, man. Oh, shit. That's the only thing that bothers me, dude. Getting, you do a sports movie and you get the most unathletic, uncoordinated fuckers to be in the foot, to play, portray football players. It just doesn't work.
True. For me personally, it's whipped cream bikinis are not as put together. All right, they are not. They are falling, like they do not hold up that well.
Joseph, you weren't supposed to wear it outside in the heat. It's supposed to stay in the air condition, Joseph.
Something always has to affect the big game. It's the girlfriend in the stands. It's missing equipment. It's the shitty dean on the sidelines. You always have to have a distraction. And I always feel like, you guys know as players, you have to stay focused. But all these things always come into play during the games where the player is more concerned with what's going on off the field than on the field. And that to me is like maybe a big mistake that a lot of these movies make. Joseph?
Yeah, no, but and obviously I was making a joke, but what really does though, one of the things that I get pissed off at, and it kind of goes into what Bob said, I hate seeing football movies where the players' uniforms are like, just they put no effort into the actual like uniform. Like they're either the jersey's way too big on somebody, pants are the pads are not where they're supposed to be. Like there's a scene in Varsity Blues, I think it's the last game that they're playing. The other team scores and they go on this ridiculous like team group celebration. Basically the whole team is dancing in the middle of the field, and there's this one guy and he's wearing the biggest fucking football jersey I've ever seen on a player, and I'm like, nobody's gonna wear that in a real game. I mean, so I hate that. Like I mean, at least yes, like
not in Texas, at least.
Add to what Bob said as far as like actual people that look like they can play or stunt people, or whatever, and dress them properly. Like, at least take the time to get them a helmet that looks good on their head. It doesn't look too big, or jersey or shoulder pads that look way too big for somebody. I hate that. It's
because they're all 5'5", 110 pounds, and that's what they're wearing, shoulder pads.
So, guys, last opening question. You have the first pick of the movie fantasy football draft. Which fictional player are you taking? I go first if you want me to.
Go ahead.
All right, okay.
Go ahead.
So I'll go first. At first, I was thinking running back, and I was going to say Ricky from Boys in the Hood, but I need somebody who could help run the shotgun offense, and he hasn't had a lot of luck with shotguns.
Oh, shit. He can't run that fast. I'm saying he's fast, but he ain't that fast. He could outrun a lot.
So if I'm drafting with today's rules, if I'm drafting, I'm going wide receiver first. I'm going with Rod Tidwell, Jerry Maguire. He's loyal. He's durable. What about you guys?
I want to say quarterback, so
you're gonna go Willie
Shane
Beeman.
Falco.
Shane Falco.
Shane
You just
Falco.
have it because he's lefty.
I'm going Shane Falco.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned Bobby Boucher. I'm gonna throw out a name out there. He couldn't be tackled, man. He was a fucking man. I'm gonna throw a name out there, and only if you're a fucking fan of football movies would you know this movie. The movie's called The Program. Alvin fucking Mack, their middle linebacker. That guy was a crazy psycho. He's what I wanted to be as a defensive player when I was in high school. That guy's crazy. If you haven't seen The Program, crazy shit. Like a really over the top version of Florida State, college football with James Conn as the head coach. It's a cool movie if you're into that kind of thing. But Alvin Mack, crazy motherfucker, would have been all pro if he hadn't broke his knee or torn his ACL in that game. But yeah, he'd be my number one pick.
What about Forrest Gump? You want him returning kicks?
Fucking Gump. They could have tackled Forrest Gump.
You don't take a kick returner. number one.
As your number one pick.
Why didn't they give him? You know what?
Maybe Willie Beeman. Beeman.
Why didn't
what
they
about the longest yard?
Why didn't they let him run the ball? Why didn't they let Forrest run the ball?
A slot receiver. Forrest Gump as a slot receiver. I don't know if you're.
All he did was return punts and kicks. So I mean, he did good, but
let's go to our honorable mentions. What are some of your honorable mentions for best football movie?
So I got Gridiron Gang. This was a really good movie. It was almost my pick, actually. I like Draft Day, football adjacent movie, but not a lot of action. But it's
I just love Kevin Costner ever since Dances with Wolves.
I got The Replacements as well. We Are Marshall, Varsity Blues, and The Waterboy, and really a lot more. But I mean, I'll just be basically listing every movie. I will say that your two selections are also in my honorable mentions.
You got to mention Necessary Roughness, Texas State football. Paul Blake. Badass. We went to South by Southwest, and some drunk dude wearing a Paul Blake jersey was trying to explain to my wife who exactly Paul Blake was and the whole history of Necessary Roughness on St. Patrick's Day. We're like, dude, okay, dude, I'll buy you a beer. Just get the fuck away from us.
No, dude, but he was so happy.
He was so nice.
He was a little bit older, and nobody knew who he was. That jersey, but we knew. And he was
Paul
so
Blake,
like,
Necessary Roughness, and he was like, oh my god,
bro.
He
was so happy. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Are you sure it wasn't Scott Bakula?
It might have been. It just might have been. He was cutting a leap. We Are Marshall. We Are Marshall. Definitely just an overall great movie. Such a sad story. That one just like, man, that one, it tugs in the heartstrings. Great fucking movie. McConaughey in it and just everything about it. Great. Another one you didn't mention, Joseph, Johnny Be Good. Cool movie I used to watch when I was younger.
Filmed in San Antonio.
Yeah, dude. Being drafted as a cool one. The Little Giants. How can you not talk about I swear I watched that shit religiously as a kid.
Like I said, dude, I basically would have listed every movie.
Yeah. Any Given Sunday, obviously, The Replacements, and then I know you mentioned Shane Falco earlier. Mm-hmm. And maybe one that Randy watched, maybe you didn't watch those, but School Ties.
Oh yeah,
movie,
great
dude.
football movie.
Brendan fucking Fraser, don't fuck with him, dude. Matt Damon was a little bitch in that movie.
Don't fuck with Brendan Fraser, basically.
All right, so my honorable mentions. I had The Program, great movie as well. The Longest Yard, the original, not the Let Brucey Shine one. The original one was, North Dallas 40, which was great. Nick.
That was another sad one. Oh, Brian's song was a sad one.
I got Brian's song. You want to cry? Watch Brian's song. Oh, that one is so emotional. The Replacements I had too. Jerry Maguire. I had all the right moves. Tom Cruise wants to leave the steel mill town. And
there's another 5'3" dude who should be playing fucking football.
We Are Marshall. I do have The Blind Side, and I want to talk a little bit. There's a few movies we're going to talk a little bit about that we all mentioned, but starting with The Blind Side, a movie that's topical right now because Michael Oher, who was portrayed in the film, filed a legal petition against the Toohey family, claiming that they never adopted him and placed him under a long-term conservatorship. So there's a whole shakedown and legal drama that's going on. I read that they are ending the conservatorship. But for years, the Tooheys were making money off of Oher's story and professional football fame. I'm 100% team Michael Oher, not only because I couldn't stand the brat that played SJ, but they completely over-embellished his story, didn't give him his rightful cut, and continue to take advantage of him. The one thing I disagree with are the fans calling for Sandra Bullock to return the Oscar she won for portraying Leanne Toohey.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
What the fuck is that? No, that's stupid.
Well, what the hell does she know about the backstage stuff? If she returns her Oscar, then Rami Malek has to return his too for a shitty portrayal of Freddie Mercury. He didn't even sing, so if she's going to return hers, he's got to return his too. That's all.
That terrible mustache. You forgot to mention the terrible fucking mustache that guy sported.
I heard about that. I think it's so fucking ridiculous. They have any of the actors. I've like even the guy who played Michael Oher. He's come to her defense. They had no say in any of this shit. They're actors. They were given a role. They were given a story.
Yeah,
they acted it.
And of course, it's an over embellished story, and they make the Michael Oher character different. And like they're trying to sell a fucking sob story, a sad story. Of course, the story itself is going to be different. Now, I will argue against you here, Ren. I will argue against you here a little bit here. Yes, Michael Oher's like, well, they're making money off me. Like, wasn't he 17 and homeless in the movie? Like, didn't they give him a place to stay and place for food? You know how many fucking college athletes make it to Division I colleges, and yet they don't make it into the NFL or make money? They end up working as high school football coaches. How the fuck were they to know 5 years from now he was going to be drafted in the NFL and make millions and millions of dollars? You know how many football players don't make it? So give me a fucking break. Did the family? Look at fucking the people. It's a guy that size of flipping burgers. Last time I was at Whataburger, it's the same shit. It doesn't matter. size and in strength, it's the 1% of the 1% that makes it into the NFL. Give me a fucking break. The kid was 17, 16 when they took him in or whatever it was, and now all of a sudden, they took advantage of me. I didn't hear you saying that when you were eating their food and sleeping next to their daughter at night. Goddamn. I don't know if that actually happened, but I'm just trying to throw it out. But yeah, I can see that they did take advantage of him. They did make money off of him, stuff like that. Maybe he didn't get his fair cut, which he should have gotten his fair cut. But at the same time, like, they sold the story and it got picked up. Whoop-de-doo, got picked up. Everybody got something out of it. That's great. Michael Orr's career didn't go as long. Maybe if he, had a longer career, he wouldn't need this money, or he shouldn't need this money. Maybe he's a better player. He would have had extended contracts and, but made a shitload of money and, would have left them behind or not needed this cut off of this fucking movie, that probably made him famous. That probably got him extra shots at the NFL. So I think it is what it is.
It is very suspect timing on what's going on now. Now that he's out of the NFL, and now that he's doing this. So, but who knows what's going on? I just know that movie is responsible for one of the most ridiculous football plays on film. Is when he's blocking a guy all the way to the wall. It's like that guy's not going to stand up for that long. If he's backpedaling, he's going to fall down. So that play was kind of ridiculous. I had Varsity Blues. Bob and Joseph spent 2 minutes telling me about what this movie got right, and 37 minutes telling me what it got wrong.
Everything got right. Everything.
It's completely how Bob and I lived our lives in high school.
Yeah, that was us stealing cop cars. Saying not going to strip clubs at 17-year-old. No, they did. Of course, they over embellished the fact that high school football stars in small towns can pretty much get away with anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's a small town. These kids are the stars, and they kind of let them get away with everything. Go to bars, get in trouble, not get arrested. The football coach goes over and talks to them. Boys being boys, that type of thing. The thing they did touch on, though, that I thought was maybe important was the sacrifices. Them, hey, this kid's knees fucked up. Let's just give him shots and fill him up with pills and put him out in the field for a high school fucking football game. You know what I mean? It's not like college. Well, now college, you can make some money, or NFL, where you're making money and you're like, if you don't play, if you get cut, you don't make any money anymore. These fucking kids are, 16, 17, 18 years old, and they're giving him, at the end, the running back, they're giving him shots in his knee, or they're attempting to give him shots so that way he can play, because it's about the coach, you know what I mean? So the coach can win, and not giving a fuck about the players. And I think that was kind of good that they touched on, you know what I mean?
Joseph, anything?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know if that was... I think
Joseph thinking about whipped cream bikinis. That's what he's thinking.
I think there's, yes, obviously, like you said, it's well over embellished and it's a story, but the things that I do think that they got right are the small town that hinges on a football program, a high school football program, especially one that has a tradition. That's everything. That's a lot of pressure on some kids sometimes. Like the story with Moxon and his dad, like, pushing him to, like,
I don't want your life.
Be the guy, like, I think there is that. I think there's some of that. So, I mean, I love that movie. I do. I really do love that movie. And I think, if you look beyond the crazy antics and whatnot of the film and some of the players, like how that movie says, dude, Texas, like we talked about in the beginning, Texas high school football is fucking religion.
On a scale of Huckleberry Hound to Matthew McConaughey, how do you rate James Vanderbeek's accent?
Well, he lives in Texas now.
He lives in Texas now, at least.
So I'm okay with it.
Let me tell you guys this. My wife grew up in a town called Hillsboro. They have a Wendy's. It's a small town. Anyway, it's north of Waco, south of Dallas. And when
they have a Dairy Queen, that's what makes a Texas town. They have to have a Dairy Queen.
They do have a Dairy
Queen. Maybe a Walmart.
Yes, they have both. And when we visit her hometown, her accent makes an appearance. Like words like pie turn into pie, and words like behave turn into behave. Don't worry, she's 72 episodes behind. She'd rather listen to Sean Fennessy instead of us. No, I'm kidding.
Believe she's going to get a text after that.
She's very supportive. I'm kidding. But in her defense, when I visit my hometown in the Rio Grande Valley, she says my accent comes out a little bit too. So maybe because I refer to everybody as Vato or Holmes. I don't know. But anyway,
James, you roll your R's.
So James Vanderbeek's accent, especially the "I don't want your life" scene, it just takes me out of it. Varsity Blues is to high school football what the movie Airplane was to aviation. That's my opinion. Anyway, but it's still a fun watch. Wrapping up the honorable mentions, Any Given Sunday, Brian's Song, Heaven Can Wait, which is an older movie but great movie. Concussion, Little Giants, Lucas invented the slow clap. Bob, does Lucas have the best slow clap scene in movie history, or are you a Cool Runnings guy?
Cool Runnings, Lucas. I don't think of the slow clap in Lucas. I just think of the broken glasses and the hurt and the pain.
Concussion is not a football movie. I'll just leave it at that. Like
Necessary Roughness. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Necessary Roughness before we get out to our picks. So
it's my favorite movie of all time.
It's a sneaky successful film. It made back double its budget, $13.5 million versus a $26.3 box office. These were the top 5 movies that weekend of September 27th, 1991. The weekend Necessary Roughness got released. Number 5 was Dead Again, back when Andy Garcia gave us hope as a people. Number 4 was Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. We got Freddy's backstory. Number 3 is Deceived, Goldie Hawn. I've never seen it. 2 was Necessary Roughness. Number 1 was The Fisher King, 5 Oscar nominations, and it only edged Necessary Roughness by less than $2,000 per theater. So Necessary Roughness is such a dated star movie. And when we have a stacked lineup with talents that reached the apex of the 90s, it's just so nostalgic. Jason Bateman's like 6th or 7th on the call sheet. You know you have a loaded cast when he's that far down. Of course, he was just getting his career started, right?
Yeah, man, that cast, dude, like surprisingly, yeah.
Robert Loggia.
Exactly. Loggia.
L.
As
for Robert
Loggia.
Oh my, that's Robert Loggia.
B. By God, there's Robert Loggia.
So I want to focus on the 3 biggest stars at that time who are in this movie. Kathy Ireland as a kicker. For those
amazing fucking shit. Sorry. She was just amazing.
A beautiful woman. For those of you too young to remember, she was the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. We didn't have the internet back then, just magazines. You had to be real stealthy to view these magazines when you were younger. If you're a young guy coming of age who had this insatiable curiosity, you either had the swimsuit issue edition making its rounds through your friends, or you had to fake a seizure so you can oogle the magazine at the doctor's office. You had to sit away from your parents, of course, but it was worth the brain scan.
Who were the cameos? The jail team, the team of
Jerry Rice was in
it was like Rice,
Jim
Evander
Kelly,
Holyfield, Jim Kelly, like so many people.
What are you in for? Computer fraud?
Yeah, computer fraud.
So
I don't feel so good. I think I swallowed a finger.
By the way, Kathy Ireland, not the first female football movie athlete. That distinction belongs to Helen Hunt in The Quarterback Princess, and she was far more convincing as a quarterback than Carson Wentz.
Holy shit, dude! I forgot about The Quarterback Princess.
Then you had Scott Bakula, of course. Quantum Leap was big at the time. He was the original Stetson Bennett. He perpetually looks 42 years old from for forever. He's supposed to be playing a 30-something in that movie. Looks like he had a lot of fun doing this movie, so I was glad that they cast him because he looked like he was having a great time. And then lastly, Sinbad. Yeah. At the time, Sinbad was maybe one of the top 3 or 4 comedians of that year. I think Carrot Top and Pauly Shore were like 2 of the other 5. So rough year for comics is what I'm trying to say. But Sinbad was known as the clean comic, but he was everywhere that year. TV, movies, specials, just shouting out, "Are you crazy?" after the end of every punchline, and we loved them. So watching this movie is a time capsule. What do you guys think about this movie?
Fucking love this movie. The cast is great. The storyline, the coaches, you know what I mean? Everything. Robert Loggia. I love everything about, it has the big speech. It has the big play. It has the comedy, the referee doing the Inquisitor thrust to the up back, doing the fucking karate moves and shit. I thought that was fucking hilarious. It's got a lot to it. It's really, really funny. I'm a big fan of that movie.
Anytime it's on, I will watch it. And I don't think it's on as much as it should be. And again, like you mentioned, with such a loaded cast, I don't know. I mean, I've never really looked up box office numbers, but I believe it's a cult classic. At least
it is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm not sure how much of a
great
how
bar
much
fight
it did, but yes,
great bar fight, dude. The best great bar and the best block in football movie history at the end. The center, the Hawaiian center, knocks the fuck out of the big one, and the guy's face mask flies off and
kills him.
Yeah, I was like, holy fuck. Holy fuck.
Welcome to football.
Yeah, that was fucking Kathy Ireland kicks that fucker in the nuts.
What I like is that they actually got to use, except for the 2 teams, the Texas State Armadillos and who was the other team? They were the Texas, or they were UT, but I think we saw the Kansas Jayhawks where they played them. So they played the Southwest Texas Bobcats at the time, Texas
which is funny
University.
because they later became Texas State.
Yeah, Texas State. That's funny. Yes, exactly. You're right. So, please go watch
It's
it.
like one of those you like drinking, you're having a beer and it comes on, like you watch it because you just want to fucking laugh.
At any point of the movie, you could just turn it on and just watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
Rob Schneider as the commentator is funny too. Great
best
cast
work,
all
probably.
around.
Let me see the arm, son. No, throw the ball, genius.
Throw the ball, genius.
One of the funniest fucking scenes.
They're gonna do one of these.
They're gonna do one of these.
So we're going to go on to our selection. Joseph, you're up first. What do you got for us?
This was a really tough decision to make. So I went with Friday Night Lights. I think the reason I picked this is because it's relatable to myself and to Bob and really probably to more than half of football fans. I believe if you're a football fan now as an adult, you probably had some experience playing it, particularly in high school. And in Texas, like we mentioned, high school football is religion. It's football is in general is religion, but Texas high school football is king, like Bob mentioned, if that makes any sense. It's a movie based on the book of the same name about the Permian High Panthers, excuse me. From Odessa, Texas.
Was that a panther roar?
Pretty much, yep. From Odessa, Texas, actually. For the most part, it's an authentic look at Texas high school football and just how crazy it has an effect on a particular town, especially the small ones, where, like we mentioned earlier, where a football team, a good football team, is basically what keeps the town together. I just think it's a great story for the these kids having all this pressure on them on their shoulders at such a young age, trying to figure out what their future is after that, while trying to live up to the reputation that the town expects of you to uphold. And Bob and I can relate to this. We come from the city that we live in, has had a storied tradition of succeeding in high school football. But as far as the football side, it's got great football action. It does great scenes of games, great on-field gameplay. Again, it's fairly accurate portrayal. I know we talked about this earlier. The players do look like actual football players. The scenes are shot right. They're at least dressed accurately, like how I mentioned earlier. I fucking hate when the quarterback's shirt, his jersey covers his arms so much because the jersey's so big. How is he supposed to fucking throw? So it does look accurately portrayed, and I like that. All in all, it's a well done football movie with great acting, a great cast. If you're, if that's something you're fickle about, I believe this is a great cast. It's straightforward. I don't think it's too over dramatized, like how we mentioned, how we were discussing Varsity Blues. Crazy. This is completely different, and I don't think it's, like I said, over dramatized. Good movie. If you're like me, you die a bit inside when you watch it, maybe once a year. So that's my pick, guys.
I die every day. Every day, Joseph. No, this is a great movie, dude. Came out, great pick. Came out a year after we graduated from high school. So, of course, us going and watching it, being like, fuck, I still wish I was in high school playing football. The acting was really well done. They had a great cast. Billy Bob Thornton, he did okay. I never saw him as a football coach, but he's such a good actor. He'll always be Bad Santa to me, and the guy that Wyatt Earp kicked his ass in Tombstone, but that's besides the point. I thought they did a great job with the casting job. A lot of great young actors, and they showed the realities of it. I actually read the book. I'm sure you read the book too, Rand, and Joe. Like the book is really, really good. The heartbreak of the star running back, tearing his ACL, and that's, it's tough. But yeah, it really does give people an idea of what Texas football really was, and that was in the 80s. If you go to Odessa and Permian High School now, their field is state of the art. It's beautiful. They probably pump out a lot of Division I college football athletes from that school. So it's a crazy story. It's a good movie. It's a tough watch at times. It's definitely top 3 for me, dude. So it's hard for me to argue against. I really did like the book more. I think they did take some liberties from it, from the book. They kind of changed things up, which they usually do for football. The book was really, really good, and being in a small town. And, one thing that nobody mentions is that they actually lost the state championship. They didn't win that year. But the one thing I really, really did love about that movie, and I thought it was kind of a fucked up scene, they showed the quarterback, and he's at home with his mom, and they live in like this really, really, like, I don't know if it's a trailer or a really small beat up home. And they're like, well, we're offering your son, we could offer him like a small scholarship, and he'll go. Yeah. If you're offering money, he'll go. Like how poor they are, and how, like, how they use football to get out of their situation. You know what I mean? To,
Yes.
and they have to go to college basically because they're offering their money because they can't afford to send their son or their kid to college. So, any school that's willing to offer them any kind of, scholarship, we'll go, whatever you do. If you're giving them money, go for it. So it's kind of a way out for people in small towns. So I really like that they highlighted that.
I thought that was good. A great movie. Billy Bob Thornton always excels when he plays hateful scumbags. So it was only natural he got cast as a high school football coach in Texas. All right. It's one of his best performances. That's saying a lot because he was great in Sling Blade, Monsters Ball, The Man Who Wasn't There, A Simple Plan, one of my favorite underrated movies. As far as his major roles go, this is probably his fourth best performance, and that's saying a lot because he's got some good movies. That locker room speech about being perfect was really, really good. When he and Bobby had talked about that being a trope that you enjoy, the locker room speech. When he hits that forever's about to happen here in just a few minutes, I did 8 jumping jacks after listening to it. I was fired up. It was just a perfect speech. Friday Night Lights is based off a nonfiction book by H.G. Bissinger about the 1988 Permian High School football Panthers team. Bissinger was a journalist from Philadelphia who spent the football season living in Odessa to document the team. I think this was required reading in high school, at least in Texas. I remember we had to read The Outsiders, Of Mice and Men, Friday Night Lights, and La Llorona. So I remember we had to read those. Just so
Stories that will not die.
Yeah, stories that will not die. Yes. The good thing about this movie, since it's based on true accounts, it is more representative of high school football in Texas. Way more so than Varsity Blues. Yes. Although the whipped cream bikini and the high school teacher who was a stripper was way more entertaining than seeing Jay Hernandez in the nickel defense.
What about the banana split?
Using Public Enemies, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back during the Booby Miles clips was fantastic. The film has the biggest what the fuck are you doing moments in sports movie history. Putting Booby Miles back in a blowout game because your third string running back misplaced his helmet. Probably the dumbest move in sports movie history outside of Clint Eastwood laying a stool in the ring in $1 Million Baby. So just a dumb move by the coaches putting him back in. Then weeks after his injury, they put Miles back in a game and they turn his knee into confetti. Just ruined the kid's career. Just dumb decisions by whoever's career hinges on kids taking algebra and learning how to drive. The end scene is one of the best in football, and I believe they spliced in real footage of the actual game, and it looked great. Not like in Saved by the Bell when they used USFL highlights for AC Slater. This looked real. Odessa, to many outside Texas is an exotic place. Not knowing much about it other than the fanaticism that revolves around the football program, and that's really compelling. And when movies are about cultures, guys, and when they're about locations that we do not know about, and they educate us, they're doing something right. It works, and this movie made it work. It broke down the season and the journeys of all involved. My criticism is that although this movie is fairly honest to the book, there was too much material that should have been a series to begin with. And wouldn't you know, they created a very successful series which lasted 5 seasons. Pete Berg, who directed this movie, actually created the series. They changed just about everything: the school, the coach, the players, the storyline, but the show was really, really good. I don't know if you guys are a fan. Were you guys fans of the series?
I did not watch it.
I wasn't a fan of Billy Bob Thornton's wig in the movie. Sorry, throw that out there.
It was.
I had no interest in it.
No interest. It's a good series.
It's a good series. I think I saw the first season, but you kind of stopped wanting to relive the high school shit, so I kind of had to move on.
What network was it on?
NBC.
And
you can stream it on Netflix.
I love this movie. I love this story, this book, and I would thought that. Why are they turning this into a teenage drama? Please don't do that. Don't turn this in. And that's why that's why I asked you, because I was like, didn't this come out on the WB, or whatever it is now? I don't know what the fuck, CW. I don't know what the fuck it's called.
I mean, it was really.
Where you watch Supernatural, Joseph?
They got. Never mind. We're not going to get into.
I'm a One Tree Hill guy myself. Anyway, it's really well written and sophisticated. I do like the TV show. Not the fault of the movie though, guys, because you have such a short amount of time to get to the point. The movie is super fast and it's only given in small increments of time. So there's not a lot of effort on emotions and backstories.
That's what I told her.
But the show really digs into the characters from a small Texas town playing football because they are afforded the opportunity of time because it ran for 5 seasons. Again, my last point, not the fault of the movie, but when I think of Friday Night Lights, I think the TV series overshadows the movie, which for me drops it out of contention for the best football movie. But they both had Connie Britton, and she was great as the wife on both of them. But it's a good pick, Joseph. I wish this movie was more recognized than it is because I don't think a lot of people talk about this in the pantheon of football movies, but I would definitely give you one of the most underrated football movies for sure. Let's go on to Bob. Bob, what do you got for us?
I got the winner here. Remember the Titans, a movie that takes place in Virginia in 1971, that discusses or portrays the integration of a black and white school. This movie has everything. It has a great storyline with issues that are bigger than football, but it's centered on football, which makes it great. It's football that brings the town together, that brings these kids together, that brings that kind of fixes things. You know what I mean? The underlying hates or differences that are taking over this Virginia town. It's got a great storyline, which is amazing considering it is a true story, or it's based on a true story. It's got a great cast, Denzel Washington, Ryan Hurst, Ryan Gosling, fucking football player. He's not a football player. Give me a break. Wood Harris, Will Patton, Hayden Panettiere's the great comic relief being the coach's daughter. I thought she did a fantastic job of that. Kate Bosworth being the girlfriend of the linebacker, Ryan Hurst. I mean, the who's who of actors and actresses in this movie, man. They did a fantastic job. It has that great speech element with all the players running. They stop at the Civil War cemetery. It's this motivational, emotional type of speech that Boone gives, which is played by Denzel Washington. It's a fantastic speech, motivating speech. I love how the players have their own meeting and their own players meeting to gel together, to come together. They have great practice scenes, Ren. I know you mentioned that being one of the tropes. They have great practice scenes and real life, hey, you don't need water. Water's for the weak. You drop the football, you run a mile. You miss an assignment, you run a mile. It's real life. This is the shit. This is what they had to do in football. There's no I would say fluff to the practices or to the games. Speaking of the games, they have really great football game scenes. Shot really well. It looks realistic. They had players that ran fast and hit hard. They did have really great football scenes. So they had great practice scenes, great football game scenes. They did have that big game at the end. They had the game-winning play. I mean, they had every fucking trope you can think of when it comes to a football movie. The soundtrack itself was phenomenal. The Hollies, Cat Stevens, Creedence Clearwater, Marvin Gaye. Fuck, dude, that soundtrack is epic. It's amazing. So this movie just has a little bit of everything. The emotion, coming from somebody who played football, since they were 10 years old, this is the movie that kind of sticks with you, that you watched and you're like, wow, this is the type of movie that would motivate you if you were a football player or you were an athlete in general. This one, when this came out, we were still fairly young. I mean, we're teens, we're a little bit older, but when this movie came out, this is the type of movie that made you think that there are things bigger than football, but at the same time, football was always the saving grace. So just got a great storyline. And I love the fact that it's based on a true story and a real coach and a real team. And, there's a ton to this movie. It's got a ton of layers. So it's my favorite football movie of all time. And I just think it's untouchable.
Great movie. And I noticed the first mistake on my notes. I wrote "Remember the Titnas" instead of "Remember the Titans."
It's Kitna, Kitna.
That's a whole different movie to be found in my dad's Betamax sock drawer. Anyway, I remember how critics called it formulaic, predictable, and prosaic. That's definitely not where I'm going with my perspective, because all football movies have many of the same crossover elements. It's either win big at the end or lose and discover something about yourself. But that story, that's arc. All football movies have this. So yes, it's cliche and yes, it's stereotypical in some elements, but those elements are heavily played for flow and movement and as a base to where the characters proliferate their growth and relationships. So I have no problem with that. Nobody in this movie is bonding over things we innately have in common as young men who play the same sports. It's all bifurcated between race relations and discovery. And of course, that's more important in life, of course, but I know that it was really, the main focus of the movie. And I get it. It's a true story about integration integration. Some say it overhammers the point, but I get it. It's a Disney movie and the lesson is bigger than the game. Listen, football stories can't just be about the game. Half the people who watch these movies aren't invested and are completely amorphous about the subject. They know nothing about football. So these movies have to be about people and problems. And the biggest problems cannot be, how are we going to beat the other team at the end? I do like this movie, but I only have one bone to pick, or should I say one boon to pick. It's an important topic and it's a feel-good movie, but you take away Denzel Washington, who plays Coach Boone, and this movie slumps. I think he keeps this machine going. He's such a huge part, and he was such a huge get for this movie because without him, it feels like an after-school special. Denzel makes this movie go. That shows you what kind of a monster he is as an actor. I mean, he carries this movie. I mean, Will Patton, the assistant coach, was good too, but the players were just one-dimensional for me. You had a great storyline with Jerry and Julius. Left side, strong side. I would have loved if that storyline was our football movie and the players were more fleshed out, and if Ethan Suplee didn't dance, and if Ryan Gosling wasn't such a liability in the secondary.
He was a fucking liability. His dad was stupid.
The movie focused more on the coaches, and of course, you had two heavyweights playing these roles. But I think it took away from the players from really investing our attention to the team and their paces. It always comes back to Denzel and his battles with the, pernicious environment that these racist idiots created for him and this team. And I get it, Disney, Bruckheimer, we have to make money. Denzel will make us money, but call it Remember Coach Boone, because that was his story. The storylines with the Titans were perfunctory at this point. I don't really remember the final game of this movie, but I remember all the shit that coaches had to rise up against. And of course, that's a great story. The coaches' storylines are the varsity. The players in this movie are the JV in this one for me. But even Hoosiers, a basketball movie about a coach, provided a better balance for the team. But I do love this movie. Great lessons involved, and it's a great football movie to watch, and it's an important movie for anybody to watch as a young kid if you're getting into football. Joseph, what do you think?
But did you remember the Titans?
The Titans, yes.
Wow, man, way to kill the mood. What you said. Okay, I see that. I see your point in that. I don't think any of that takes away from the movie, though. This is a great movie, and for me, I think I mentioned in the beginning, one of the things for me about organized sports in general, but football in particular, I almost went with Gridiron Gang. If you know anything about that movie,
that's when Rock still had hair.
Yeah, it's a group of kids who don't have any, who everybody believes are worthless and they're criminals. But they come together and learn something, new. It's power sports. And I see that applied to this movie, and I love this story. And that's one of the things that I believe, I didn't really look at it like that, the battle between the coaches. And, there isn't really an underdog story here. They're expected and they have to win. They don't ever start off like losing and coming back and succeeding. They have to win from the very beginning, or Coach Boone loses his job. There's really not that part of the story, but I'm so invested in the come together. We've all played on a team, the three of us, whether in any kind of sport, learning to work together with people you don't know or from different backgrounds. Like, I love it. I know so that part of the story I love. I think that you can't touch that. Sports and bring people together and put aside your differences and for the common goal. Aside from that, I think there's good action in this. I'm going to get to the football point of this argument. There's some great football. I know I talk about the jerseys, but this is in the 70s, so they weren't really like wearing form-fitting jerseys and everything. So
damn, can they dance?
I can't complain about it. Yeah, it's damn can they dance. It's got heart. It's got some comedy. It's a really good story. I think it is, and I think it's definitely up there. How do you not mention this movie or any of our honorable mentions movie that we or my movie in general? They're all so great, and they're all in their own particular way. And this one in its particular story, I don't have any other than Ethan Suplee. Ethan Suplee does not look like a high school senior. I love the dude. I love the dude, but he's one of my favorite actors. And I think he's phenomenal, very underrated in his acting skill, but. That guy looks like a fucking
he's like
coach.
At least 35.
He looks like he's in college.
Don't tell me he could get off the line like on a snap. I mean, come on. He's just too out of shape.
He was there to plug the hole, man. You know anything about nose guards? You don't have to move. Just stay there. Make them run around you. Create a pile.
So we're going on with the last selection. I selected Rudy. And before I talk about the movie, guys, I want to thank both of you for not picking Invincible, because the listeners, I'm sure, don't want to be subjected with another batch of bad Mark Wahlberg impressions.
Hey, dog, you see my touchdown?
Rudy, college football, a little different for me. I know both of you all enjoy it very much. There's a lot of things about college football that I like, a lot of things about college football that I feel are on the decline, but it's an enjoyable atmosphere. I do love the Saturdays, but the ethics involving what these universities do to procure money using these young athletes, NIL rules notwithstanding, I know it's different now, but it's always been remarkably unfair that these schools have made billions off the backs of students who never saw a dime. And then they talk about financial aid and scholarships and everything. But come on. They were really making billions and not giving a drop to anybody who was selling all these thousands of jerseys. But I'll get off my soapbox. It's a flawed, top-heavy systems, major scams and recruitments, coaching contracts, television deals. Forget all that. Let's talk about a great movie. Rudy, I do love college football movies, and I love college football movies about underdogs. Rudy is based on the true story of Daniel Rudy Rudiger's dream of playing college football for Notre Dame, and it's a sweet love letter to football. If you love football, you have to love this movie. You at least have to respect. It's a true story based on a kid who was 5'6", maybe 135 pounds. He was dyslexic and he had to jump through all these hoops to achieve his dream. And that's playing for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Before I delve into why I love this movie, I have a bone to pick with one Joe Montana, who was a QB of that Notre Dame team. He wasn't featured in the movie. In a 2010 interview on the Dan Patrick Show, Joe Montana said, the crowd wasn't chanting for Rudy. Nobody threw in their jerseys to support Rudy. And after Rudy made the last sack of the game, the people carrying him off the field were the three biggest pranksters on the team. It was not a celebration. It was a joke. Many of Montana and Rudiger's teammates have said the movie is about 90% real and true and are disappointed in Joe Montana's comments. So this selection is not only in support of Rudy, but also to expose that asshole Joe Montana.
Yeah, fuck you, Joe Montana. You jerk. Steve Young did exactly what you did.
Joe Montana is a Hall of Fame quarterback who's won 4 Super Bowls, married to Sports Illustrated.
But he's got a bad attitude.
He's got a bad attitude. He wears LA gears, and he has one of the worst football video games of all time, Sega Genesis Joe Montana Football.
I owned it.
And now he's shitting on some poor guy who dressed one game and played for 27 seconds. That's low, Montana. Rudy is a movie about heart. An undersized kid with a learning disability makes the Notre Dame roster. We come from an area, guys, where we have a lot of undersized kids playing football. If Rudy was Mexican-American, he'd have his face on the water tower of our city. That's how big of an impact he made.
Or at least a taqueria named after him.
Don't tell me you didn't tear up when Rudy's friend Pete gave him that shitty Notre Dame jacket from the surplus store and Pete dies in the mill explosion. Man, that's so gut-wrenching. Or when Charles Dutton gives a way too proud clap for Rudy. Or when Ned Beatty, who played Rudy's dad, sees Notre Dame's field for the first time and says, this is the most beautiful sight these eyes have ever seen. And his son is looking at him like, what about mom? What about us? No, Notre Dame football is more beautiful, goddammit. The football scenes have added a sense of realism because director David Ansbar never filmed any scenes with a camera on the field. As with a broadcast of a real game, all football scenes were filmed with off-field cameras. Football is such a tough sport to film, and Rudy promulgates a more realistic view of football than most other movies do. In football, we have 50-plus people on the team. Every shot has to be a dramatic play, but Rudy focuses on one layer and one play and one player. We're not lingering into throwaway storylines, stereotypes, or forced tropes, and the compendium of another sideshow event. It's all about Rudy. Because remember, in movies, the game is tertiary behind the characters and the off-the-field storylines. Rudy is simple, it's quick, it's a great watch. Sean Astin, Jon Favreau, Vince Vaughn. Can you name another collective movie cast where Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, and the Jurassic Park franchises are represented? No, only in Rudy. And to conclude it simply, Rudy is a story about triumph, heart, and determination. And the lessons the movie teaches us are forever held to standard. You don't have to play the sport to relate to it, and that's the magic of it. So fuck you, Joe Montana. What do you guys think?
All right, you're gonna hate me.
You gotta love this movie. Come on.
No, I do, dude. I love this movie. I love this movie. My problem with this movie, my issue with it, is that if you look at every list of movies about football, if you searched every best football movies of all time, Rudy for some reason comes out on the top of each list. For you, that's the point.
Yes.
The thing is, though, this is a great movie. I love this movie. It is a great movie about an individual. There is football. There is a football aspect to it. He has a goal. His goal is to play at least once for the Fighting Irish. That's his goal. As I recall, and I haven't seen it in a while, please go ahead and feel free to correct me. All we see is him practicing until the very end. We see practice football action, but we don't actually see any of the games. That's all mixed in with a great story about wanting an individual. Like if you needed something to inspire you to reach your goal that you have in life, this is your movie. And that's the story of Rudy. It is a great, I'm not denying that it is a great story. I just think that for like Bob's pick, my pick, other picks that we honorable mention, there's a big aspect of the football. And I don't think we see so much of that. So I'm more of this story saying like, I think it's a fantastic movie. I just don't think it tops all football movies because I think it's missing an element that is crucial to a football movie. We don't see the character actually in the game until the very end, and it's a tremendous scene. It really is. I love it. But this whole build up to that is a story of him overcoming obstacles, and it's great. That's a great fucking thing. I think it's a great story. Getting advice from the wise janitor. It's beautiful.
Never saw a game from the field.
It is a story about not giving up, and I love it. And with a hint of the football is the goal for him, and he gets there at the end. I just think it's more of a great personal story than it is a great football movie. It's on the list.
It is what it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Go ahead. Did you need to finish?
No. I it's because I'm not trying to take away from the story from this individual.
Yeah,
I think it's a hell of a story, and I love it.
But you got to remember, once again, we're 3 for 3 with true stories. This was another true story, and the reason you don't see Rudy in action because the whole movie
Stop waving your hands.
I'm about to fly here. The reason you don't see Rudy in action is because the whole movie is about him trying to make the team. So he plays the last game against Georgia Tech. He's on the kickoff. He makes the last sack of the movie. And that was the extent of his action. So you can't have a lot of football scenes without the main character. What is he going to watch from the sidelines? He has to be in on it because we're following his story. And his story just happens to be those 27 seconds for that one game.
The real reason you don't see him in the game because they have Samwise Gamgee, fucking 5'3", fucking hobbit playing a football player. Give me a goddamn break.
It's a true story. Don't say that.
It's a true story, but you could have gotten a more athletic. He looked more athletic in 50 First Dates than he did in the fucking Rudy movie. Jesus, come on, Sean Astin, get your life together. The fucked up scene is why did he let his brother take his chick like that? I would have kicked his ass. If he can go against 6'5" offensive tackles, he could have beat the shit out of his older brother who looks like he hasn't worked out in at least 2 years. You know what I mean? I think that's fucked up. And yeah, you talked about the dad. The dad looked more proud of his daughter in A League of Their Own than he did of his son when he got to the Notre Dame field. This is the greatest I remember. His daughter was Marla Hooch. What a hitter! League of Their Own.
No, that wasn't Ned Beatty. He wasn't in A League of Their Own.
Wasn't the same?
No, not the same. No, not Ned Beatty.
Well, they look exactly the same. Anyways, I think that this movie is I can agree with Joseph on a big part of it. Like, it's a great movie in general about like perseverance and you know, going for what you want and reaching your goals, and no matter what, like facing adversity and overcoming adversity. It is a great movie about that. It is centered around a kid. You know, I thought Joe Montana was okay. I've never been a big fan, but now I'm like, fuck that guy. Jesus Christ, you've had enough, sir. You've had enough attention on yourself. You know, by the way, Steve Young put up just as much numbers and everything like that, and you only were that great because you had fucking Ronnie Lott and you had a Hall of Fame wide receiver, possibly the best wide receiver of all time. So let's fucking pump the brakes. It's not like you're a Tom Brady throwing to what's his name in the first Super Bowl, or the other dude, or what's his name? Yeah, we don't fucking know because he didn't have Jerry fucking Rice or Roger Craig or fucking Ronnie Lott in his team. Okay, so let's pump the fucking
John
brakes.
Taylor.
Okay, yes, let's settle down there. So the Joe Montana, the guy's 5'3" and he made Notre Dame's team. Give him a fucking break, man. Jesus Christ, goddamn.
I think.
Go ahead. I'll get off my soapbox now. Fuck that guy.
No, what's interesting about I am not saying that this is not a football movie. I'm saying that the personal story of perseverance and inspiration outweighs the football aspect of it, to where kind of what you said about remember, what did you say about Bob's pick? Remember Coach Boom?
You said pick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It should have been.
It was more about him.
It was more about him.
It was more.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel about this movie. Probably, like, I can definitely say it's top seven on everybody's
It's a
list.
weird number.
But
Just say
everything
five.
that okay, but no, because there's a lot of great movies. But for me to see this as number one on every fucking list that I looked up, I think that's insane, because none of us picked We Are Marshall, but we know that is a hell of a fucking story. That is an amazing story.
I just didn't want to talk about it because I wouldn't cry on camera.
Well, I mean, but it is like, I mean, somebody might think that is a tremendous fucking football movie, a hell of a story about a team of a football team. If you know anything about that story, I hope you do go check it out. It is a great movie. It really is. I just think that, like, this individual story of determination, like I said, perseverance, inspiration outweighs the football side of it. The football side is there, and that's why I don't think it should be like number one on everybody's list. And it's not a bad pick, Rand. It's not. It really isn't.
Fucking Joe Montana, motherfucker! Did you ruin? You're telling me that Jersey scene, dude? That's like one of the most powerful scenes of the whole movie. We were like, I want Rudy to play for me, and they're leaving their jersey. You're saying that didn't happen? Fuck you, Joe Montana.
I was about to.
My life.
I was about to mention that scene, Bob, because the coach Dan Devine said everything. A lot of that is true, but the players did not put their jerseys on my desk. I would have cut all those motherfuckers who put their jerseys on my desk. So that scene didn't happen, but everything else seemed to be pretty legit. Of course, for Hollywood, there's a lot of embellishment.
Plus to it is I don't think they over embellished the story. I don't think they did, because it's when does it take place?
According to Joe Montana, it's all fake.
According to Joe Montana, it's all fake.
Guy.
You can't.
I don't think there was like a
football.
mill explosion, and I think
Plus for this movie, because isn't this where Vince Vaughn and
John Favreau
met each other and just
this is where they met each other. Yeah,
they ended up making
it.
And they made that great anymore.
They made that great story. One of my favorite movies, Swingers. So, I mean, awesome.
What does he yell to him? You're the man now, or what does he yell to him? Who's
wild
the big man? Who's the big man?
Who's a wild man now? That's what he yells.
Guys, last thoughts on football movies.
I just want to know
what love is.
Does your whole view change on because we talked about it earlier, and yes, like unbelievable timing, the story of The Blind Side. If this story hadn't come out, would this have come out on your list? Did you not put it as an honorable mention because of what's potentially going on?
I do like the movie. I think it's a good movie.
I did too.
I thought it was a great movie. I mean, Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for it.
There's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of football action, but it's a nice story. It was a nice story from what we saw. Do you watch it now, or do you not want to watch it? If you don't want to, I don't care if you do want to watch it. I don't care if you don't want to watch it. But if you do watch it, does it kind of like obscure your view?
Not really, because most football movies are, they're over embellished. The only football movie I will not watch is Radio. Other than that, everything else is freaking.
Why do you want to cry? Why the fuck do you want to cry? Let's just throw on We Are Marshall and then Radio, and then we'll have Joe Montana ruin our fucking hopes and dreams afterwards. Fuck.
It does not change my opinion of the movie or the actors, but it does change my view of the story.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, dude. For as far as The Blind Side's concerned, it's a good movie, but it's never a movie I'm like, you know what? I want to watch a football movie. Let me put on The Blind Side.
They show it on TV.
I'll watch Necessary Roughness. I'll watch Remember the Titans. I'll watch Rudy. I'll watch a lot of the movies that we made, The Replacements. I watch that shit religiously. Like, it's not a football movie that I want to watch over and over and over again. Oh, it's on. I have to put it on. It's not the type of movie for me.
And football shows are always so. I remember in the '80s we had First and 10 on HBO.
Yeah, First and 10 was awesome.
First and 10 was great. Playmakers. We had Ballers. Football is never going to go out of style because the storylines are too compelling. What I do think is they're going to the root of the individual and storylines, and you've seen it a lot with Concussion, Draft Day, even Jerry Maguire. It's difficult to juggle a football team's storylines because there are only so many players to cover. Football is also difficult to film because there's so much action going on that it's hard to get engaged with everybody. That's why we see so many good baseball and boxing movies. That's why it looks so realistic and individualistic, because it's isolated action and not everyone is involved. So those movies look beautiful to watch. Football is all collision, but football is about plays and hits. So the illusion of how paced a football movie is gets lost in movies. And I don't know, guys, if we'll see many more of these type of football movies. I'm talking about The Necessary Roughness, The Program, even Rudy, Remember the Titans, and all the other movies we mentioned. We don't have a lot of young actors like Keanu Reeves or Omar Epps anymore who made believable football players. Even, James Vanderbeek or Matt Damon. I don't want to see Timothy Chalamet run a wheel route or Ezra Miller on a strong side.
Kills. It's like Lucas all over again. Fuck.
I think Jacob Elordi is our last hope, but he's Australian and he's 26. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to go on with that. What do you all see in the future for football movies?
Well, I mean, it is popular. I mean, we have Hard Knocks on HBO or HBO Max. Football in general is very compelling. The storylines, the players, particularly because of injuries, because, football is a full contact sport, and a lot of players, especially great players or up-and-coming players, rookies especially, they get hurt and like their dreams are like shattered. It's hard to come back from a major injury before you even got started. There's just so many great athletes and football stars out there. Like, people get replaced, and it's very compelling TV. I'd hope they do more football movies, especially comedy movies. Like, I haven't seen Major League was I'm talking switching gears, but Major League was like one of my favorite baseball movies of all time. One of them, the comedy, the drama, everything about it was so good. Like, they don't make movies like that shit anymore. I wish they would, because they're very compelling, and they get a new generation of kids and teens to get into sports just by like entertaining themselves by watching a movie.
Wasn't there
Field of Dreams, man? Jesus Christ!
Wasn't there? Go ahead.
Okay.
Wasn't there a rumor about the Boys Will Be Boys Dallas Cowboy book being a movie?
I don't know.
That would be fucking cool as shit. Like, kind of, if they do it like Winning Time, like the Lakers Winning Time on HBO, that would be fucking epic, dude. That would be really, really. I could see similar storylines.
It'd have to be a TV show. No, it'd have to be a TV show, because I think there's so much that happened within those 3 to 5 years that you can't do that in a movie. It's got to be over. Like, you can split that up into seasons.
Yeah, that would be like a great Winning Time
that
show.
Would actually be, that's a good one.
I think my funniest story from that book is like a Troy Aikman, Super Bowl champion Troy Aikman, was so like he was late to getting on the bus, and Jimmy Johnson was such a hard ass. He was like, "Fuck it, we're leaving." I told him we're leaving at 9 o'clock. We're leaving at fucking 9 o'clock. And Troy Aikman was talking to reporters, and he walked out of the stadium, and the bus was driving past. He had to get a taxi to meet them at the fucking meet him at the airport or whatever it was.
I mean, it's obviously a great book. See, right? It could be a movie, or it should be a TV show. One of my favorite things when I read was when they got Deion Sanders, and I'm pretty sure it was in that book, right? Where somebody was wearing his number when he got traded when he went to the Cowboys. Somebody was wearing his number, and he wanted the number, obviously, at 21 as his number. And he knew that, I forgot who was wearing 21, but that person was like at a dealership, or he saw him at a dealership, a car dealership, looking at a car. And like, he was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a nice car." He was talking to him, and Dion, and he's like, "Oh, so you're going to get it?" And this and that. And he was like, "I'm thinking about it, blah, blah, blah." He didn't end up leaving with the car. But I think it was like the next day, that guy went to the locker room, found a set of keys at his locker with a note that said, "Give me my damn number." It was for the car.
Fucking car with the number.
A quick story about that with the Michael Irvin party stories are legendary.
Oh, yeah, dude.
He would take his teammates to like strip clubs and bars, and the next day everybody'd be hungover, and he'd be hungover, but he'd be running routes full speed, throwing up while he was running the routes. I mean, that guy was just built different. But guys, have you watched the Untold Johnny Football documentary on Netflix?
No. I've seen a lot of clips. I've seen the trailers, and I've read some stuff on it. It's interesting stuff.
Good.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff, man. That guy, a lot of potential, dude. A lot of potential, and it just shows you what like fame and drugs, and if you don't have your head screwed on right, how you think like, oh, you have all the talent in the world, but if you don't get your shit together, it could all come crashing down pretty quickly.
Not yet. I haven't seen it yet. What don't we know? I mean, we saw it unraveling, so it's like, I don't need to.
I didn't know that Joe Montana was an asshole.
I don't need to see it. It's an interesting, and I kind of feel bad. You want to feel bad for him, but you also know that he was an arrogant prick, and
he was given a lot. He was given a lot of opportunities, man.
And we saw it coming. I think the one that like just like stands out the most is like when with the fake picture, like just, you know, a night in Cleveland, but he was actually in fucking Vegas. Like, oh my God, like that's so fucking, like, you fucking serious, bro?
If you want to find a way to ruin your future in 4 years, watch this documentary, because he was at the height. I mean, freshman, won a Heisman Trophy, gets drafted in the first round, even though he slipped, and he just ruins it all. It's a sad story. It's a cautionary tale. And I think he's still young, so it still hasn't affected him as much, but in 10 or 20 years, when he's out of football age, he's really going to look back with a lot of regret, I think. And that makes me feel bad for him.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that, man.
Yeah, but a great talk, guys. It's always great talking about football. The season's coming up, and
fantasy draft in 2 weeks, Randall.
Fantasy football draft. Can't wait to do it. Maybe we'll do a live feed. I don't know. We'll see what goes on.
You gotta take a picture of this Joseph jerk.
But that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what your favorite all-time football movie is. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com. Follow us on all forms of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. I want to give a shout outs to some of my friends, Keeb, Omar, Andrew. They told me they listen to the show. They really enjoy it. So shout out to those guys. And everyone, please subscribe, rate, and review us on any podcast platform you listen to us on. And join us next episode. We'll be back next week with Most Obsessive Song. That's going to be a fun one. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see you all next week.
Robert Loja.
40 yards.